book of poems by Nita in Awe, entitled All of Me, The Love, Agony, Ecstasy and Release, was created by author Tessa, who in this episode we join in conversation with Gethin. We learn about Nita, an outspoken voice within Tessa that helped her to process and then express through her poetry her feelings about her adverse childhood experiences, facing and coping with grief, as well as emotional and sexual abuse. Each poem contributing to an inspiring healing journey towards the deepest of self-love. Tessa was born and raised in inner city London, but now calls Colchester home, where she lives with her daughter.
So, when did you start writing poems?
I started writing consciously about 15 years ago. I can't even remember why I started writing things down, but when I did, I don't know, it just felt good. It felt, okay. I never really considered myself to have a particular talent for anything growing up. So suddenly I found myself writing things down and thinking, I think this is good, maybe. Okay. I'm saying in the voice that I would at the time, because I didn't have very high confidence. As a teenager, I kind of had a diary off and on, and then I bought a notebook and started walking around with it. I think that's when I knew that I was kind of enjoying this, because I'd have a notebook and a pen. Something would just come into my head and I'd just think, I'm going to write that down. Maybe not always finishing something. That just kind of happened off and on. Okay. But it wasn't consistent. Right. Yeah, it wasn't a consistent process. I would never be I'm going to write today. But I kind of felt like sometimes I would, if that makes sense.
So it's much more natural, it's an organic process?
Yeah, which is much like how it is now, actually. Okay. Yeah.
You are obviously Tessa.
Yes.
But the book is by Nita.
It is.
So can you tell me a little bit about either your relationship with Nita or who Nita is?
I used to think that we are two very separate people, but now I realise that actually I just created Nita to say some of the things that Tessa couldn't say. I think also maybe that's that thing about criticism. So Tessa didn't like criticism or rejection. Yeah. But Nita could stand it. She could
cope.
Just about.
Right.
Yeah, just about.
So she's a stronger, more confident person, you think?
Or an aspect of myself that was stronger and confident, but not strong enough to be revealed. We're two sides of the same coin.
And the book is written in 4 chapters.
Yes.
Love, agony, ecstasy and release.
Yeah.
Was there a reason behind the naming of the chapters or the order of the chapters, or how did that process start?
So for me, love is everything. And through everything, through the agony, through the ecstasy, through the release, there is always love, which is why it's first, which is why my writing, my notebooks, what I have on my laptop, I have so many poems about love. So it was actually quite hard to select the ones that went in there. Yeah, I had to kind
Probably
of say...
A whole book about love poems.
Yes, yeah. Wow. Yeah, so I had to pick and choose which ones. And I think some of those poems as well kind of come from that place of romanticising relationships, even when they were not deserving of that. I watched the sun and the moon simultaneously present this morning, and I pondered on how alike them we are. There they were, the moon, with her quiet mysticism and her wonder shining in the morning hue. And the sun, with his rays of beauty exalting the pale blue sky, both so determined to shine their light together. Seemingly in opposition, yet beautifully in unison, just the same.
So, we've just heard you reciting one of my favourites from the love section called Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Could you maybe explain some of the thoughts behind that?
I think synchronicity is about the way you can coexist with someone, the way in which you can have, I guess, different roles, but like each person is still equally as vital to each other, and you know what they bring is equally as important. Let's say both can shine at different times, but and there's no competition. One doesn't try to outshine the other.
Yeah.
But they both need each other.
Yeah. You share some difficult topics within the agony section. Did you have any concerns sharing those generally, and particularly knowing that family would see some of those?
There are things that I've written about in the book that I've never spoken to anyone about. So certainly not my parents.
Right.
But the most difficult thing was just getting it down on paper. But it's healing for me.
Yeah.
It's like the beginning of healing.
Yeah.
It's just like acknowledgement.
Yeah. To get it out.
Yeah.
Open,
Yeah, for myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, for myself.
Okay.
So there's, you know, like lots of tears and lots of unexplored emotions, guilt, even though, you know, as experienced certain things, there was nothing for me to feel guilty about, but it's a process.
Right.
Sharing it with people, I was quite selective with what I chose.
Did anybody come and talk to you afterwards about those?
Yeah, actually my mum called me, and it was quite a pivotal moment for me, because she was like, what's this thing you were talking about, you know, whoever, you know. She paused and she was like, oh yeah, you know, did that happen? So right. I said, yeah, don't you remember? And then she sort of said, okay, yeah, I do. And then that was it. That was the only time that we've discussed it. But what I realised was that, you know, when things happen to you, you kind of think that everyone should understand or experiences what you do, but actually it's yours. So it's
individual.
Yeah, and it's easy for somebody else to forget. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine that I've known since since we were 11, he called me and he said he found that difficult to read. Yeah. Because he had no idea.
I can understand why that must be painful. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, me too.
I'd like to ask you about one of the poems in the agony section, which is called Dear Broken Heart. Mm-hmm. A lot of the poems in the agony section are, as we've discussed, but this one is slightly different. Can you maybe explain?
It's like me saying to my heart, like, it's okay. Like, you are allowed to feel. Yeah. And actually, allowing yourself to feel, you won't crumble. Well, maybe you will crumble. Right. It won't be the end. If you know what I mean. It's like giving myself permission to feel. Give myself permission to not have, because I spoke about, in there, not having to, have my favourite rum. Yeah. Because what that would do would just suppress things. So it's like I'm saying to myself, I'm saying to my heart, we can face this. Yeah. And we're going to be all right.
I really enjoyed it because it felt like you were coming out, you were starting to open up again.
Yeah.
It will be better, it will be. And that's what I loved about that. After reading the agony section, I particularly loved that.
It's like emerging from the darkness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
We don't need to seek comfort in the arms of someone who doesn't love us. Nor need we find solace in the dark, rich tones of our favourite rum. We don't need to build an impenetrable wall, one that makes it difficult to feel or ever be touched again. Nor do we need to seek vengeance, for it is a temporary friend. We need to breathe, feel sad, cry a little, laugh a little, dance a little, and gently fill ourselves up with love. It's only then that we will know that this is not the end. It is the beginning of something new.
The next poem that I'd like to talk about is called Alpha Female.
At the time, Alpha Female was about, I was really leaning into kind of like, I think trying to find my feminine and equating strength with masculinity, what I perceived was masculine energy. I think I didn't see strength in my femininity alone, but then I've come to understand that as beings we are both masculine and feminine energy. I saw my feminine side to be maybe so vulnerable, and so that was quite scary. So I needed to kind of embody something that I felt was stronger than that.
Right.
Now I don't feel the same way,
Okay.
which is interesting. Now I don't feel the same way because I understand that there is strength in my vulnerability, like finding my confidence, finding my veracity, and being present in the best way that I knew how.
Right.
I am Nita, alpha female, tall, strong, Amazonian goddess. I rise and I fall and I rise on the crests of the waves of life. Yet, something deep within me yearns to serve. Submission comes to mind, but not the generic kind. I desire to be brought to my knees with a willingness to please, to release control of the daily toll. My alpha female self may not comprehend, but what is abundantly clear is my need to feel the strength of his hand grip my hair, my need for him to take me there. He binds my wrist behind my back, covers my eyes so all goes black. My body pulsates as it waits to endure the sweetness of the pain that he inflicts, a sweetness I long to explore. I am Nita, alpha female, tall, strong Amazonian goddess. I rise and I fall and I rise on the crests of the waves of life. Yet, deep within me, erotic dynamics redefine my vanilla life.
The last chapter is called Release.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
So release is about healing. It's about forgiveness for myself. It's about letting go of all the stuff that I've carried around with me. So guilt, fear, mistrust. Just knowing that, like, I'm held.
Okay.
That makes sense. That I'm looked after. So whatever a person believes in. So whatever what anyone calls God,
Right.
Buddha, whatever it may be, that there is something that allows me to find grace.
Okay.
And to be gentle with myself, to love on myself.
Yeah.
I think many people don't love themselves enough.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. One particular poem within the Release section got to me Obviously, lots of them did, but this one in particular,
Yeah.
it's called Mummy Wounds.
Yeah.
Could you maybe explain where that came from?
So, like we're all born, from a mother and a father. So we're all influenced and formed by a figure. In my case, my mum, sometimes she could be really harsh with her words.
Directly to
me,
you? Yeah.
yes, to me. And I never felt growing up good enough for her. And I tried to achieve and excel in many different ways, and even in my adulthood, not just as a child. I mean, I'm into my 40s now. So, everything that I can say I've achieved, even writing the book.
Yeah.
Even writing the book. And still, I never got that. I never felt, like I said, like there was a light that shone in her eyes for me.
Right.
And then I realised that she also had a mother and a father, actually, who she lost them at a very young age. And she had me at a young age. So she just had to just get on with things and learn the best way that she knew how, and just raise me the best way that she knew how. And I accept that wholly now. The problem is that as much love as she had for me, I don't think she had that for herself. And so now I can see that, and I just have compassion for that. Yeah. Because I know now what it is to really love myself. Yeah.
Fabulous.
I forgive you. I forgive you for every embarrassment. I forgive you for the shame. I forgive you for every hurtful word. I forgive you for the light that never shone in your eyes for me. How could it, when it never shone, even for your own self? How could you give me what you never had? How could you make me feel good enough to be me when you never felt good enough to be you?
Bringing your book to publication, what was the most rewarding part of that process?
The day I got the first copy.
Oh, it must have been exciting.
Oh my God. Thinking about that first day, because it was so special. And I remember taking it out and just squealing with delight, and then running over to my neighbour's house and showing the kids. I was just so happy.
For anyone who's been watching this, who has that voice inside them that you had, that had to have these poems, what would you say to them would be a good way to get them started in that process?
Just start writing. I would say, don't be overly concerned with the outcome. But I would just say, just start writing. Just write for yourself.
Yeah.
And I would say, in general, just write for yourself. So even when you're thinking about who you might want to share it with, other writers might be different. They might say, write for your audience.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I find that if I try to write for an audience, it just doesn't feel. It doesn't sound like me. No. And actually, one of the things that I've learned through writing this book is that is very often the case, and that as human beings, we actually have so much in common, and sometimes we can get really distracted by our differences. Okay. But the feedback that I've got from people from different walks of life, in terms of the book, has been, wow, some of that really resonated with me.
So will there be more work coming out?
Yeah, and I don't just write poetry, so I've got ideas for a play, screenplay, more kind of factual topics. In my day job, I work in special educational needs, that's my field.
That's great.
Yeah, so I do writing around that.
Okay,
yeah,
that sounds interesting. Sounds like you've still got a lot to give.
A lot, yeah. It feels like an infinite cycle of just creativity. That's where I feel I am.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That this is just keeps coming.
It does.
As well.
The more I connect with myself, the more I
yeah.
understand who I am, the more creativity is released. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how can people connect with you?
So I mostly via Instagram. So Nita _in_or. That's where you can find me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your
Thank
your
you.
time. It's been brilliant speaking
Thank
to you.
you, Gethin.
Thanks, Tessa. Cheers.
If you had seen what I have seen with the eyes that I have seen them with, you would know that all is well. You are cradled in the womb of unknown realms where you are unreservedly loved, guided, protected by the unseen. It is here that the surrender of your solitary mind awaits. The hurt of your forever breaking heart abates, and the pain that plagues your weary body wanes. It is here that your tears are captured and transformed into pools of love, that you may be released from all that burdens you, so that you can be born again, so that you can at last be free. These blessings will wait. The unseen will wait for you to come. They will wait for the day that you look in the mirror and see what they see, as someone worth saving. A beautiful gift to the world. Perfection personified. Until then, beloved, know that all is well.